Hey guys, good morning. Welcome to the Fixed Blood Sugar webinar, episode number 134. I had to think about that for a minute. We just put 130, or I just edited 133 today. And last week was such a good webinar as well. We talked about if the virus is linked to type 2, and I took some really good notes. I put those on YouTube in the comment section. So if you look on YouTube, if you have no idea what I'm talking about, you can go to bartonwebinar.com. There's a link to our YouTube channel. And Dr. Saunders talks specifically about, how to improve your immune system, but also that's my dog ringing the bell to go outside. Sorry about that. It talks specifically about vitamin C and what it does to the body, vitamin D, what it does to the body, zinc, and I don't know if I didn't catch that ever before or what, but some really good information that he shared. So go check out that webinar. He just really talks about the importance of those things and so much more. But those were some just neat notes that I made sure that I added into the comments. So we're so glad that you guys are here. I apparently have to let my dog out. I'm at home in my living room. And so I'm going to let Joe take it from here for just 1 second.
All right, I'll do my best. All right. Well, this is great. So, we are going to be talking about diabetes, specifically type 2, found in our product, the Diabetes Solution Kit. And like Leslie mentioned, bartonwebinar.com is kind of the hub, the main site you could go to find our products and where we're coming from. So if you have this handy, get it out. We're going to use it today. We're going to be talking about that. And so at the end of the call today, we usually go for an hour. Dr. Saunders answers questions for the last 30 to 40 minutes or so, depending on how much we talk at the beginning. Every other week, we talk about the basics and how to reverse type 2. And that's what we're going to talk about today. In the other weeks, we usually pick a special topic and that's connected to diabetes. And like last week, it was all about coronavirus and looking at the long-term effects now that it's been over 2 years since that's even been a thing in our world. And so some very interesting findings there. So today I'm going to start off with a question, Dr. Saunders. Type 2 diabetes basics. Has much changed in the last, let's say, 5 years in how to reverse type 2? Or is it pretty much the same stuff that it's been for a long time? I'm sure there's been new discoveries, but overall, is it basically just follow these principles and concepts and you'll see success?
Yeah, the changes have not come about easily, but we are seeing changes in the medical world where most of the endocrinologists just put everybody on drugs. But there's a lot more doctors who are going, you know what, if you're willing to, if you don't want to take drugs, there's another option. And so there's a lot more doctors now who are aware of how to reverse it and know enough about it to help their patients that way. I just had a patient today who has type 2, and he was doing the program. His blood sugars came down. He got off the insulin. He'd lost 30 pounds. He's feeling a lot better. And then he said, well, I had all these stressors and things happened. And so he started eating his regular diet again. And so the blood sugar started going up. And the blood sugar goes up. He freaked out. He's like, oh no, my blood sugar's going, I got to do something. So he called his endocrinologist. Endocrinologist is like, well, why are you off the insulin? Go back on insulin. And so he went back on insulin. He started gaining weight again. Things happen like that. But so to your question, nothing has really changed except as more doctors learn about it, it becomes more of an accepted, oh yeah, that you could do that. That's an option if you don't want to take medications.
So
Yeah.
what you're saying though is that you do still test urine by tasting it. Since that's the thing.
we haven't gone that. We've progressed a lot farther from
Okay,
that.
okay, good. I'm still in shock. I think about, thinking about that was a way that they tested to see what was going on. So very interesting.
Yeah. So it's good to see people still hopping on. So a lot of times it would take us 5 minutes to get things started. And this week we're like, let's try to start right at the top of the hour. So we did, and I bet some people are shocked. But yeah, hey, thanks for joining us. Hop in on the chat, say hello, tell us how you're doing, give us a little update. If you have questions, you can put it in the Q&A section, and Leslie will get to those in a little while to ask Dr. Saunders. And we try to keep the questions related to your journey in reversing type 2. And then if there are other questions beyond that, then if we have time at the end, we can get to those as well. But we usually have a lot of people on here with a lot of questions. And we also want to refer you, like if you don't get your question answered, or if you just want to keep learning and educating, we have all these webinars are archived on our YouTube channel. So you can go and watch those, and if you want to watch them at half speed to really absorb it, or double speed, or whatever in between, you can do that as well after they're recorded. So
that's funny. I listen to everything at double speed now. Well, I'm at 1.75.
Yeah.
My son is at 2.5. So he doesn't everything so fast. It goes so fast.
Yeah. Kind of depends on the speaker, because some people talk fast already. So and there's like you can go up to 3 times speed. I can't catch a thing, but I learned if you start super high and then ratchet it down, then you usually level off at a higher one than you would normally be at. But yeah, it's a way to save time. But we just have a ton of probably over 130 hours of webinars recorded in the past. Lots of great questions. Also lots of great testimonials and stories from people. And so if you want to share your story, we love to hear that from you as well. Put it in the chat. Just tell us a little bit, like what was life like before? What were your numbers at? And what are they at now? And how has that made an impact in your life? So we'll talk more about that a little bit later. So all right, Dr. Saunders, one of the things that we've talked a lot about in the past to explain the basics of type 2 is the kitchen sink analogy. That I'm going to challenge you in the next couple of weeks. Let's get a new analogy, something fun.
Okay. All right.
Okay, the bathroom sink.
One
thing though, before we get started though, let's quick do a disclaimer. Maybe you did that already.
We did not. Well, we did it at 3 times speed and nobody caught it. So let's do it again.
Okay, let's do that again. I'm going to let Dr. Saunders do that, and why it's important for us to do a disclaimer.
Okay. The disclaimer is that I'm not your doctor, and I don't know you, and I don't have your tests, and I don't have anything about you specifically. I'm giving general information for a lot of different people who have type 2. And I know that there are a whole lot of different reasons for having type 2. Some people just overeat, and some people have genetic problems, and some people have drug problems. And there's a lot of different possibilities. So the general information might apply to you and it might not. So the best thing to do is to work with your professional to see if that applies to you.
All right, good stuff. So if you have another analogy besides the kitchen sink that works really well, feel free to share it now. Otherwise, I'll give you time next couple of weeks. But
and also it is kind of interesting too, even just a quick explanation while you're thinking of your analogy of what is happening in the body, because I love the way you explain that, and it really helps me to understand what's going on.
Maybe if you used a car analogy, like if your car isn't working as well, like how would you compare our body to a car? What would a car with diabetes look like?
Well, okay, so the car with diabetes would be your gas pedal is on full every time every time you start the car, your gas is on full, and you have the pedal to the metal constantly, and so as soon as you shift it in gear, you take off, and the engine's getting really hot all the time, so you have to, because it's always pedal to the metal, you have to slow it down and go in first gear if you want to go slower. So you get into first gear so you can go really slow with your really high RPMs. And then if you want to go faster, you have to shift up to a higher gear and then you can take off. But you can imagine a car like that is always running at 4,000 or 5,000 RPMs. Or 7,000 RPMs is always going to be hot. It's going to wear out quickly, and so you're going to need a new engine. I remember, that's really interesting. I remember during the Obama era, they paid people to bring in their gas guzzlers, even if they were brand new cars, bring them in the gas guzzlers. And the government was buying their cars from them. And then what did the government do with those? Well, I saw a TV show. What they were doing is that's exactly what they were doing. They were putting the pedal to the metal. They were putting on full throttle, and then they drained the oil out of it, and so it would, and then they take it to the junkyard and recycle it. Even new cars, they were doing that. So it's that would be the best analogy for what diabetes is, because diabetes is too much for your body. There's just too much energy there. It's just always on. So your body kind of shuts it off, and that's where the blood sugar starts going high, because you have this cell that is filling up with sugar. And then after a while, it's like so full of sugar, it just says, we can't do anymore. And so it blocks insulin from getting sugar in there. So it won't let sugar in there. So what happens if you eat something, your blood sugar goes up because it can't go into your cells anymore. And so that's why it happens. And so if you can imagine, there's too much gas, or even worse, if you have your car, instead of putting regular gasoline in there, you put nitromethane, and then put the throttle on full all the time. That would be an analogy of what diabetes type 2 is.
Yeah. So the insulin in our bodies, it's kind of like that helps to get the fuel or the energy into your cells, or the sugar, so that it can use it as energy. So would that be kind of like, I'm just thinking like somehow that it's taking some off the gas, like, so you're not using it all, but it's being used efficiently. And I'm not a great car guy. I'm mechanically declined, but the other thing I was thinking about is, I had a brain fart. I don't know.
The fuel injectors, that's the insulin. The fuel injectors actually put the fuel into the cylinders. So that's kind of what the insulin does. It's like the fuel injector.
You've talked about how our bodies like want to try to stay in balance, like I don't know if homeostasis is the right word, or just like being in the right rhythm, and the cycles and different things like that. It's not having too highs or too lows, which is like blood sugar can go super high and then it can go super low, and you're hypoglycemic and your energy levels are all over the place. And so the goal is to really get your body kind of on this nice, smooth, regular path, I believe, right?
Yes. Well, sort of regular, but irregularly regular.
Yeah.
In other words, you kind of want it to have that homeostasis, but the way you get the homeostasis is by a lot and none. So fasting periodically is a good thing, because you go without and then you eat a lot. And the vitamins, the same kind of thing. When you take your vitamins, That's concentrated food right there, that little vitamin pill. And you take it and then you go without it for at least a couple of days a week. Most of them you take once a week to keep your levels up. And then you have a variety of food, different types of fiber, for example. We were talking about fiber last time. So that would be a good way of saying it. That's irregularly regular.
Yeah. So let's talk about the diabetes solution kit. What do we teach in here? Tell everybody what the general guidelines are for somebody that's brand new, just got diagnosed with type 2 much. What do we do?
Okay. So the solution kit is one way of doing it. It's not the only way. It is one way, but it's the one that we chose because it applies to the most people. Most people have too much carbohydrates, too much energy generally, but definitely too much carbohydrates. Many people in the United States have sugar with every meal, and processed sugar with every meal. They're always drinking a soda or juice or Kool-Aid or for their drinks, and then in their meal they have sugar in the sauces and whatever else they're eating, so there's a lot of sugar in the meal. And so what we do in the phase 1 of the program is to take out all that sugar, get rid of it entirely, because remember, your cells are so full of sugar, they're just bloated up with sugar. And that's why you have insulin resistance. You have to allow those cells to use up the sugar. So there's 2 things to do. One is stop eating sugar. So we allow a 20-gram carbohydrate diet, which is a very small amount, like 1 slice of bread or an apple. That's your whole day's supply of carbs. So what do you eat? Well, we have a lot of free foods on there, and yes, they are carbs, but they have a lot of fiber in them. So you can have all the broccoli you want, you can have all the cauliflower you want, you can have all the salads and spinach and kale and lettuce. And cucumbers. There's just a lot of things on that free list that's what you eat. And then you can also have meats and fish and nuts and seeds. So there are other things that are allowed on that. And then you count. You look at, okay, how many carbs are in this? And we have lists to let you know that. And you really keep it down. What does that do? Well, you can't live on 20 grams of carbohydrates. That's not enough. So your body is going to start using up all that extra carb that's been stored in those cells, and they're gonna go back to normal again. And then they're gonna go, we're getting low on sugar. We're gonna need some. And then they open up, and then you lose your insulin resistance and you become insulin sensitive. So that's the process of how it goes on. And it's super simple. It is really easy to do. Anybody can do it, and most people will reverse their type 2 by doing that.
Today's Fixed Blood Sugar webinar is sponsored by Synachroma, our best-selling advanced blood sugar support formula. Now, thousands of people around the world are taking Synachroma every day as part of their program to fix their blood sugar using natural ingredients that simply work. Now, Dr. Saunders formulated Synachroma to meet key nutritional deficiencies that most people have unknowingly suffered from for far too long. With Synachroma, you get a blend of 6 key ingredients. The perfect combination of chromium, vitamin D3, and vitamin K2, which it's important to take those 2 together, selenium, vanadium, and our 10-to-1 cinnamon bark extract. Now, if you're not already using Synachroma, I highly recommend that you give it a try and see how it helps your energy, your weight, and your blood sugar numbers. You can get Synachroma at bartonnutrition.com or on Amazon. If you get it at bartonnutrition.com, you can enter the coupon code webinar25 and you'll save 25% off at bartonnutrition.com. But I realize some people like to go to Amazon as well. So anyways, Cinechroma, highly recommend. Now let's get you back to the Fixed Blood Sugar webinar.
Okay, I also saw a comment that came in here. I'm just going to jump in. Deborah was asking about, she's talking about phase 1 of the diabetes solution kit and whether or not it was total carbs or net carbs. And it is net carbs. I just want to confirm that. And yes, I guess that's it. I'm just.
Yeah, total carbs, we explain that in the book of how and we show a picture of this is a typical nutrition facts label, and it'll say total carbs on there, and then it'll say fiber.
Sorry.
And then it'll say sugar. And so you can subtract the fiber out, and that will give you the net carbs, or the net carbs.
Yes, perfect. There was something else I was going to mention. We have someone who hopped on, I think, for the first time, and they said they are a Honda dealer, and so the car reference was great. Maybe we should let him put some of the details together for it, but I wanted to find their comment. I'm not finding it. So you know what? I'm just going to chime in with a little testimonial, and apparently my notifications need to be shut off on my computer. There we go. Okay. This is from Vilo Garcia. He and his wife, I was able to chat with them a couple of weeks ago, maybe 2-3 weeks ago. They've only been doing this program for 4 weeks, and we've shared a little bit about their story on a recent webinar, but I just want to give you guys an update. It says, as we mentioned earlier, oops, I'm on the wrong one. There's so many messages coming in here. This is great. Okay, we've been on the program just 4 weeks. Barbie has lost 13 pounds and blood sugar levels are 95 to 135 with very limited metformin.
Wow.
Vila has lost 26 pounds with blood sugar levels between 70 and 135 with no metformin for almost 2 weeks. Again, this is in less than 4 weeks. That is amazing.
Woo, woo, woo. Way to go.
So proud of them. They're just such a neat couple too. I got to chat with them and hear their story, and I can't wait to share that with you guys. Let's see. And then I think there's a question from them too. As we mentioned earlier, our weight and sugar levels are now coming down extremely well. Note, they are following the diabetes solution kit to a T, you guys. They said that is their secret, is consistency, and they're doing it. They've messed around and played with some other programs and some other things to try to make this happen. And they finally got to the point where they're like, we found something that works. We're doing it, and they're being hardcore. Vilo is a former baseball player, I think a professional baseball player. Is that right? And I don't know why I brought that up, but I feel like that has helped him maybe even to just really focus and do the work. Just all of his training in the years. And so I don't know, I think he may need to come on and give us all a little lesson about accountability and just making things happen without messing around. So, okay. Anyway, it says our weight and sugar levels are now coming down extremely well, thanks to the overall program, the correct foods, and the recommended supplements. Vilo is still running high blood pressure, even though it has dropped by an average of 25. So from 175 down to 150, 155 on average.
Wow.
What
that's
would you
great.
recommend? Yeah. What would you recommend that he do? Or is it still too early and just stay on the program?
It's still too early. Stay on the program. You know, I had that guy I was telling you about today, whose blood pressure was elevated. It came down pretty well. And then he started gaining weight back and was eating, and his blood sugar started going up, and then started using insulin, and his blood pressure went up too. So that's what happens. It's okay. 150 is actually fine. You have no risks for having a blood pressure of 150, but it's going to come down as your blood sugar, your insulin resistance goes away. So that's excellent. Good work.
One of the things that has come up quite a bit as I've chatted with a lot of people is, and this is, I believe, Barbie's story and a lot of people's story, they want to get off of their diabetes drugs. And so here's a question that has come in from Ileana, and it says, can metformin damage the liver?
Oh, good question. There were case reports that showed that metformin damaged the liver, but all they were is cases that this person was taking metformin and has elevated what are called transaminases, meaning there's liver cells are dying. But what they didn't take into account is that those people also had cirrhosis from they had alcoholic cirrhosis and other problems going on. So it may be that if you have cirrhosis or something, metformin may contribute to that. But by itself, metformin is not toxic to the liver. So if you have cirrhosis, if you're drinking too much alcohol, or if you have other liver damage for other reasons, like if you have Wilson's disease or something like that, maybe metformin wouldn't be your best choice. But if you have a normal liver function, it's not hepatotoxic. It doesn't damage the liver.
Okay, good information. Our friend Annette, who, guys, if you haven't joined our Facebook group, if you're on Facebook, there's a group called Barton Webinar. Just a great community, a few hundred people where you can share recipes, ideas, thoughts, whatever. I just shared Annette's story in that group today, and it is powerful. But she is on Facebook today, and she just wanted everyone to know that the Diabetes Solution Kit is a great resource with loads of information. It's beyond informative, glycemic index and all. So we're getting lots of rave reviews from some people who have used it and had success with it. So, okay. So we have someone who commented that they've been taking one metformin in the morning and one in the evening, but they're currently having a bout of diarrhea. My doctor suggested that I do not take metformin to see if the diarrhea results from the metformin. I'm also getting some tests for bacteria and parasites. But what foods do you suggest to help with the diarrhea? And I will add, is this a common side effect of metformin?
Okay, yes. Metformin blocks the energy of the cells, and the cells in the lining of the intestines are quite sensitive to that. So many people have nausea, vomiting, diarrhea from taking metformin. We usually work around that by starting off with a very low dose, like 500 milligrams once a day. And then after a couple of weeks, going to 500 milligrams twice a day. The effective dose is right around 1,000 milligrams twice a day. So if you immediately start on that, you will probably get some intestinal problems. So yes, that is a common side effect, and working up might help that. But if it continues on, then that just would be a medication that you would avoid. What was the original? That was the second. What was the first question?
It just said, I think that they were taking it morning and night.
Yeah.
Oh, and then are there some tests for bacteria and parasites?
Oh yeah. So the test for bacteria and parasites is a stool test, and they do a stool culture and then ova and parasite culture. So yeah, that could be done just usually at a local lab. That would be pretty easy to do, but it's unlikely to be something like that. It's more likely to be the metformin.
I think back in the day, I'm pretty sure you told me to fast. That was always the answer.
Is that a big surprise?
No. And I just kept going back to him. I kept letting him be my doctor. I don't know. Anyway, all right. So speaking of which, this is why I brought that up also, is that Roy had asked this question last week. He's back. Thank you, Roy, for asking again. Monday, a week and a half ago, Roy started a water only fast. His weight at the beginning was around 280 pounds, and a week later, he was up to 290. He says, "What's up, doc? Are there calories in the water I'm drinking?"
A week of drinking only water and you gain 10 pounds? Okay, if that's the case, then you're holding on to water. I got to tell you this story. I had a guy come into the nursing home, was like going to die. And so he was on hospice. And I went into his room and I said, and I went over his chart first. I knew what he had. He had diabetes. He had congestive heart failure. And he had a lot of water. He was like swollen all over. Besides being obese, he was swollen. His ankles were huge. It was a lot of water. And I said, okay, are you ready to die? He said, no. I said, well, why are you on hospice? He said, well, because at the hospital, they insisted. And I'm like, okay, so do you want to walk out of here? And he goes, yeah. I said, okay, no food, no water. And so he ate nothing, he drank nothing. In 2 weeks, he lost 100 pounds. And he walked out. And he was fine, and he walked out. And that was only 2 weeks of eating and drinking nothing at all. So if you're gaining weight and only drinking water, then that has to be water weight. There's nothing else it can be. And the body can hold a lot. If you think about the guy that lost 100 pounds in 2 weeks, what did he lose? Water. And like 80 pounds, over 80 pounds of that was water. Well, if there's 8 pounds per gallon, that's 10 gallons of water. Have you ever lifted one of those 5-gallon jugs, those Arrowhead jugs of water? That's 40 pounds right there. And so he had 2 of those that he was carrying around of extra water. And that's how much water the body can hold. So yeah, you may have, if you're gaining weight, it's probably water.
Wow, very interesting.
And number 2, for general information, if you're holding on to water, you better find out why, because that could be a heart problem too. You might have congestive heart failure. So that's the other thing to be careful of.
Okay.
What tests should he take to figure that out?
Well, he should go to a cardiologist, and because so they can do an echo of the heart, see how it looks, and do some blood tests. It's going to require a lot of testing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
okay.
Good.
Let's see. Roy had another question about low sodium and diabetes. People with type 2 diabetes have worsening outcomes when they follow a low salt diet. A 2011 study showed people with type 2 diabetes are more likely to die prematurely on a low salt diet due to higher all-cause and cardiovascular mortality. Another study from Harvard linked low salt diets to an immediate onset of insulin resistance, a precursor to type 2 diabetes. Guidelines for salt restriction for people with type 2 diabetes may need to be reconsidered. Is potassium an acceptable replacement?
Okay, yes and no. Yes, you need potassium, absolutely, but you also need sodium. So don't stop eating salt. But when you're eating the natural foods, you're going to have a certain amount of potassium and sodium already in the foods. Everything has sodium and potassium. You can't avoid that. So if you look at like beans, for example, they have 10 times as much sodium or potassium as sodium until people cook them up and dump a bunch of salt in there, and then it has 10 times more potassium or sodium than potassium. But either way, you're getting potassium. So you don't have to put a lot of salt on your foods to get sodium, but a low salt diet is not a good idea. And multiple studies have shown that for insulin resistance, salt is bad, or low salt is bad. You need salt. And salt also prevents you from getting heart disease. And that's the big revelation recently with the research coming out that's saying, wait a minute, people on low salt diets get more heart disease. And so, yeah, don't do the low salt diet.
Okay, Deb says hubby's numbers have been pretty good for about 9 months, so tried to go off Trulicity. His doctor told him he would be on type 2 medication his entire life. Let's see, Lily said there were no side effects if you went cold turkey, except sugars may get higher. He experienced some dizziness and loose stools. He was off for 2 weeks. During week 3, he tested and his glucose was 190. He immediately took his dose. 5 hours later, his glucose was down to 125. Do you think it was the lack of the Trulicity that spiked his sugar or something else? Or no real answer, as it appears glucose readings follow no rules based on time of day and food intake.
I like the no rules idea, because there's so many factors that enter into that. How much exercise is he doing? What's he eating? And then taking the Trulicity, and what other medications are there involved in that? And even salt, like we talked about, or fat in the diet. There's a lot of factors involved in why that works. But you know, the Trulicity, you can take it, you cannot take it. The best research that we have that's not done by drug companies shows it does more harm than good in the long run, because it increases insulin resistance. So yes, it lowers blood sugar. If that's all you're looking at, then that makes it look good. But if you're looking at insulin resistance, it's really not the best choice. And that's where we often talk about metformin. If you're going to take anything, you know, metformin does not increase insulin resistance. And it actually kind of forces your body to burn fat instead of glucose. And that's a good thing to start losing weight and stop insulin resistance. So while Trulicity might increase your fat, the metformin will not.
She said his last A1C was 5.5 and
Wow.
5.7 6 months prior. He would love to get off of his meds.
Yeah. Well, 5.5, that's pretty good. You probably don't need medications with an A1C of 5.5. That's non-diabetic, by the way. 5.5.
Awesome.
Okay. Let's see, message from Clara. I just took my first dose of Trulicity last night to help lower my glucose count, but I'm bloating like crazy, not hungry. Is there a natural way to lower my glucose to an acceptable level without side effects?
Yes, don't need any. Go on phase 1 of the program, because if you're only eating 20 grams of carbohydrates a day, that's not enough for your body in a day that to use as sugar. So it's going to turn you to a fat burning metabolism. And that's the idea of phase 1 of the program. So yeah, absolutely do that with diet. That is by far the best way to do it, instead of using medications.
Speaking of diet, I wanted to share something quick. This is a new product that my family tried last night. It's called It's Skinny Pasta. This is rice, and this is fettuccine. There's also an angel hair. And as we were eating it last night, apparently my wife didn't even really know what it was. And she's like, it's gluten-free. It's like, it's okay. And I'm like, honey, this has 0 carbs, 0 net carbs. It's not the gluten-free part that's the cool part. It's that you can have pasta with 0 net carbs. Like, that's amazing. So it was pretty good. I liked it. We had, spaghetti sauce or whatever. You got to be careful with the sauce too, but we got it on Amazon. There's a variety pack if you want to try it. I'd recommend it. So I think it's worth it. Like, if sometimes you just feel like I got to have some pasta or rice, like, here we go. So it's fun to see the food industry.
Joe, I haven't had pasta in years. So it's kind of funny, like you go into a hamburger place and they say, well, this is our vegan burger, right? Because the vegetarian burger.
Yeah.
But you would never go into a carnivore place and say, gee, I actually like salads. Can you make my meat taste like salad and look like salad, and so that I can feel like I'm eating a salad?
Yeah.
But we do the same thing with zucchini. We make zucchini noodles, or there's spaghetti squash, so you can use vegetables for those things too. Or
Yeah,
Right.
that's true. That's
Yeah.
true. I like spaghetti squash.
Yeah.
yes, I do
Sometimes
too.
you just want that texture, that
Yes, I agree.
variety. So
And it's good to know, I don't know what those ingredients are in that pasta. That's always something you want to think about. But if you're someone who is doing this and you are really wanting something, I think that's okay to enjoy those things.
Yeah, me too. It's
Not
good.
every day, not every meal, but when you need to.
so it's got 2 grams of carbs, but 2 grams of fiber. So they cancel each other out. That's the net zero. The ingredients are cognac powder, KONJAC, Konjac. I don't know. I haven't heard of that. Kind of sounds like a
Is our
beverage.
friend Megan, she might know what that is.
Right. And then there's also oat powder, water, sorbic acid, and calcium hydroxide. So not a lot of ingredients, but
Very interesting.
yeah.
Okay. Let's see. I know we have so many messages, guys. Oh, Anku is on. I had such a great chat with Anku as well. I'm so excited. Joe hasn't even seen your message yet, or the chat that we had, but he's so cool. Anyway, all right. Sorry, I get really excited because see, now I know some of you and we've talked, and it just makes it so much more fun.
Tell everybody
I
a little bit about
understand.
that, Leslie.
Oh, I will.
Because people
Yeah.
want to talk with you. I mean, you're the star of the show.
Right. But I now understand why, I can't give medical advice or do anything like that, which I understand why Dr. Saunders enjoys meeting with patients, and it's so fun. It's so fun. But I have been able to chat with some of you, and I would love if any of you would like to share your success story with me. I would love to do that. I've been able to chat with maybe, I don't know, 9, 10 of you, I suppose. And just hear your story, what's worked for you, how the things you love, the things you don't love, etc. The goal with us doing that is, one, we want to improve our products. We want to improve the way we're doing things. We want to know what things are difficult, what we could do to make them easier for you, or what is really working and what the key to your success has been, because that encourages other people, that helps us to change the way we do things, etc. But then also, in an even bigger part of this is that we want to be able to share your story with other people, if you're okay with that, because this is online, this is digital, we're living in this world, but we still need each other. We still need to hear how other people are doing, again, what works for them, and to know that it's real, that real people are doing it. And so that's the other part of it. We want to be able to just encourage others. So if you're interested in chatting, I would be grateful. I'd love to hear more about your story. You can message me, Leslie at bartonpublishing.com. I'll put that in the chat as well, but I'd love to hear from you.
And I just posted real quick a link to our other recordings. We've got a few new ones that just hit our YouTube channel this week. And so that's the link there, or we're linked from bartonwebinar.com as well.
Okay.
And just to note, we have the record number of people I've ever seen on our webinar right now. So that is fantastic. So thanks,
Well, I
everybody.
didn't even know we could go as high as we are. So I'm really confused.
Over 100. Over 100. I'm going to just quiet myself. Let's roll through these questions.
Okay, we have a lot of questions, guys. So we'll do these. I'll try to go through quick. The best place to post these, guys, for the future just is in Q&A. I can keep track of them a little bit better. But I'll try to go back to the chat and get those too. Okay, Jane says, here from the UK, again at last. Back in February of 2020, I had a letter following my retinopathy test the preceding year. Some changes had been observed, and I would be contacted with a hospital appointment. Then our NHS turned into a COVID-only service. Eventually, last year, they outsourced the waiting list to an organization who sent out a questionnaire aimed at finding out who wished to stay on the waiting list. I added comments and annotated it. There seemed no possibility of their getting around to me before I die. I remember you said fasting might be useful if eyes are affected by type 2, or if they're affected by type 2 eye neuropathy on a webinar once way back. Anything you can suggest would be great. First of all, Jane, I'm so sorry that that is happening to you. Dr. Saunders, do you have recommendations for maybe some things that she could be doing?
Yes. Okay. So number one, go back to the previous webinar that we did. We did one whole webinar just on neuropathy and vision. And that'll have a lot of suggestions. We have, for the neuropathy, there's some supplements that you can take. And the benfotiamine, alpha lipoic acid are very important. But for the vision, it's really important. The most important thing is that you get enough antioxidants. And so when you're on phase 1 of the program, make sure you're eating all the vegetables that you can fit into there, all the free stuff. Because that's going to have those antioxidants in them. And you can even take extra. Lycopene is the red in tomatoes. Carotene, beta carotene is the orange in a lot of different things like carrots. The green color and other colors from green vegetables all have things in them and have antioxidants in them. And then berries. Berries are an excellent source of antioxidants. And they don't have a lot of carbs. So you could be on phase 1 of the program and still eat all of those things and get the extra antioxidants. On top of that, you can take vitamin A. Fairly large doses of vitamin A would be about 5,000 international units. 5,000 IU is not a high dose, but that's for vitamin A, and that can improve and prevent retinopathy. So those are things that we discussed on the previous webinar of what to do. But don't forget one thing, and that is you got to get the blood sugar under control. And so being on phase 1 and getting your blood sugar down to normal between 70 and 90, but you're in England, so it's going to be between 4 and 5. You want that 4 to 5 every morning when you're fasting. It should be in that range, because when you get the blood sugar under control, then that actually allows more energy to be produced. It allows the eyes to make energy without creating a bunch of oxygen free radicals. We just did the analogy of the motor. If your motor's on full blast, your engine's getting hot. You know, it's always going to be running super hot, and that's what happens to the eyeballs too. So that's why the antioxidants are so important, and then getting the blood sugar under control is really important.
Okay, there's some messages from Cindy. We've been on phase 1 for 3 weeks, and Dave's blood sugar readings are now 95 to 100.
Wow.
How long should we be on phase 1? Should we switch to phase 2?
Well, ideally, when your blood sugar is between 70 and 90. And so when you have consistently between 70 and 90, then you can start looking at going on to phase 2.
Awesome. Okay, let's see. For a person with chronic constipation, being on 2 metformin per day, should I increase it? I know the goal is to get off the meds, but for now.
For now, so that you can have diarrhea. No, it's not really. It doesn't work that way, because the intestines get accustomed to that, and they start using glutamine for energy instead, so that they're not using sugar, so the metformin doesn't affect them anymore. So no, that's not a good way to work with constipation. So here's what you do for constipation: high fiber diet. And by high fiber, I mean like 4 grams of fiber a day. So 40 grams of fiber, if you know what that is, that's like 10 large apples. It's like 4 cups of beans. It's a lot of food. But if you're on phase 1, then you're going to have to use the free vegetables and make up your 40 grams, because that's where you get the proper bacteria It'll get rid of the constipation, and you'll grow the good bacteria. Your inflammation will go down, and the blood sugar gets under better control. So for all those reasons, a really high fiber diet is a better way to go.
Okay, Brian is here. Brian, I sent you an email. My emails weren't going through to you, so hopefully it worked today. It says, hi, my blood sugar is steadily under 90. It's usually in the 70s. I'm experiencing just the opposite. I have constipation and bowel movements 5 or 6 days apart, and I do milk of magnesia at that time, which spikes the blood sugar test. Any thoughts on this? Going to phase 2 this Saturday.
Yeah. Okay. So the magnesium is not a bad way to go. That's a better than using metformin to create bowel movements. But yeah, 5 or 6 days, that's a long time. That's too long. That's going to cause other problems. So again, a very high fiber diet. And if you need something and you don't want to use milk of magnesia because it has sugar in it and shoots up your blood sugar, that's only temporary, so it's not a big deal. But you can actually just take the pills, the magnesium pills. And if you take about 1 gram, that's usually adequate. But between 1 and 2 grams is usually the right amount to make you have a bowel movement.
All right, I knew Meg would know this. Konjac powder is also called Glucomannan. You will have to drink a lot more water taking that product.
I know
drink a lot more
Glucomannan
product or water.
Yeah.
It can make you constipated.
Yeah. Interesting.
Okay. Peter says, can I get off my metformin? 1 metformin per day if my A1C is between 6 and 7.
That's still high. That's still diabetic. So it would be better to wait until your hemoglobin and A1C is below 5.7, and then consider that.
Okay, let's see our friend. I think this is Barbie. Would it be okay for us to go or to wait to see our doctor until we get further down on the program, or do they need to go now?
I don't know. One of the things that I like to do, people come into me, they have diabetes, and I like to test them to see where everything is. Okay, where's your hemoglobin A1C? What's your blood sugar? What's your insulin level? What's your C-peptide level? And then the fats, triglycerides, all that stuff, cholesterol. So then start on the program. And we don't even worry about the blood tests until they get to their blood sugars are normal, their weight has gone down to a normal body weight, and then retest, and then you see the dramatic change in there, and it's kind of cool. Several people have written in about that, about how the dramatic change that they've seen with their numbers. That's fun.
And they also have a HIT program that Velo introduced. You should post that in our Barton webinar group on Facebook if you're there, because that'd be really fun, or send it to me because that's great. They just started introducing exercise again. So, okay. Meg said there's also Trader Joe's is now offering a parsnip pasta. She has some in her fridge, hoping to try it today. Very interesting.
Interesting. See, are parsnips one of our free foods? I guess.
Boy, I don't know. Actually, they probably are.
They're root vegetables, so they may have a lot of carbs in them.
Yeah, that's true. I don't know. Okay, let's see. Bill Davenport, hello. I've been having a few senior moments. I don't want it to evolve into dementia. I have started taking NAC to elevate glutathione. Is there anything else that I need to check or do to support brain health? And then Dr. Saunders, maybe you could also just talk about the impact of blood sugar on our brain health.
Okay, NAC is a great idea. We did a whole webinar on just the brain health and how the blood sugar affects the brain health. There's a blood-brain barrier that the blood sugar can't get across that blood-brain barrier. So it has to have a protein called a glucose transport protein that brings it across from the blood into the brain. and through the blood-brain barrier. And what happens in diabetes is you get less and less and less of those glucose transport proteins. So you have super high blood sugar in the blood, and you're getting very little trickle into the brain. And so your brain is starving, and that's what causes Alzheimer's disease in diabetes. And it's the #1 cause of dementia is diabetes or prediabetes. So it's not the blood sugar, because even prediabetes will do it. It's actually the high insulin levels decrease the glucose transport proteins in the blood-brain barrier. So that's really important to get your blood sugar down, get your insulin down, so that you can make more of those glucose transport proteins. Now, I'll tell you a story. A researcher took rats and checked their blood-brain barrier, and then put them on insulin to drop their blood sugar to 40. And if anybody's ever been on 40, it doesn't feel good. It's like, oh, I got a headache, I have no energy, I just feel blah, I can't get out of bed, it's horrible. So these rats are laying around whining and complaining for 3 days. On the 4th day, they're up running around and doing all their normal stuff. They're like, what the heck? So they checked the blood-brain barrier again, and they found 10 times the number of glucose transport proteins because they were hypoglycemic. So take home message, don't be afraid of getting your blood sugar into the 60s or even 50s for that matter, as long as you're not in the 20s. But with type 2, you're not going to get that low, so you really want your blood sugar to get in the between 70 and 80, because that's where you start making those glucose transport proteins and equilibrating, so you can get blood across the blood-brain barrier into your brain. So that's a key. Get your blood sugar down and not up to get more energy into your brain and prevent Alzheimer's.
Good information. Okay, Krish is wondering if ashwagandha, the adaptogen, when taken, will help to reduce blood sugar levels, blood pressure, body pain, and fatigue.
Ashwagandha is awesome. I often recommend it for people. It's an Ayurvedic type of what used to be called ginseng, which was the adaptogen. And what it does is it helps the adrenal glands to function better. It doesn't suppress the adrenal glands. It just helps to give a better circadian rhythm in your cycle, your daily cycle. So in that sense, it can help blood sugar and fatigue and all those issues, but only if it's an adrenal problem. If you have a blood sugar problem, then ashwagandha is not going to be the answer for that. So it's dealing with the problem. So if you have a lot of stress, for example, ashwagandha could be really helpful for those things, and I often recommend it.
Okay. We have Skip joining us for the first time, so I just wanted to say hi. And Anku is asking, how do you measure your insulin levels?
Okay, that's a blood test, and that's something that can be done at any lab, Quest Diagnostics or whatever. We have a local lab here that does it. So yeah, and for some states, the doctor has to order it. In other states, you can walk into a lab and say, I want an insulin level, and they can draw your blood and send you an insulin level. Some of the labs will say, well, I still want to send it to a doctor. And then your insurance covers it if the doctor orders it, but not if you walk into the lab. So, there are ways around everything. There is a lab, any test, I think, is called
Any lab test.
Any lab test or something like that. And you can have, and you can order it online. They'll send you a kit. You got to go to a phlebotomist, get your blood drawn, send it into them, and you pay them cash, and you can pretty much have any test you want. So that's that kind of thing might be possible too.
Okay. Let's see. Billy said, got my solution kit in the mail today. Haven't read or started yet, but I'm anxious to get started ridding this 20-year type 2 problem. First of all, congratulations, Billy, and keep us updated. Hop on here, give us updates. We want to know how you're doing. So good for you. Mary, thank you all for being here. I look forward to this every week. I'm so grateful for all the information I have received from this. I'm excited to keep going with the program. Let's see. Olivia from Ontario says, I'm getting frustrated. I've been on the program since December 1st of 2021. I am now on intermittent fasting, the 16-8 formula. I'm off meds, but my morning blood sugar test is still in the high 6s. I just eat a ton of greens, the main course with meat, chicken or beef, or rainbow trout. No fruits, no nuts. I also take Sinachroma 2 times, turmeric and Nervala 2 times. I don't know what else I'm doing wrong. I drink herbal tea after my coffee in the morning. Exercise 5 times a week as well. Please help.
Okay, this is sort of a problem. Sort of, it is a problem for some people, and what that is 6 or 3 months or so or 4 months that she's been on the program. And she's off the medications, but the blood sugar is still high. The 6s is equivalent to, it's over 150, maybe up to 200 for those of us in the United States. So then what can she do for that? And that's a really important question, because some people will raise their blood sugar from taking protein. Protein actually can cause insulin resistance, and fat causes insulin resistance. So this frustration could be from, remember that type 2 is, why is it called type 2? Because it's type too much. You have too much. And the too much is too much energy generally. So we use the car analogy of stepping on the gas, and you got so much gas going into your engine all the time, and so the way to do that is to reverse that. So for some people, you have to do a high fiber diet. Fiber is the non-digestible carbohydrates. So it's all the free things that we have that are high in fiber but low in sugar carbs, and then avoid protein and avoid fat. And I actually had one person, he had to go on to a completely vegan diet and completely reverse his diabetes from that. So not everybody's the same. We're all different. And like I said at the beginning, the program we chose to use is more generally applied to most people, but some people are not going to do well on it because they react strongly to protein, to make blood sugar out of protein, and then to fat makes them insulin resistant. So, if you're eating your salmon every day, that's great. The foods you're on are awesome, unless they don't do well for you. So you may need to have a very high fiber diet.
Today's Fixed Blood Sugar webinar is sponsored by Sinachroma, our best-selling advanced blood sugar support formula. Now, thousands of people around the world are taking Sinachroma every day as part of their program to fix their blood sugar using natural ingredients that simply work. Now, Dr. Saunders formulated Sinachroma to meet key nutritional deficiencies that most people have unknowingly suffered from for far too long. With Sinachroma, you get a blend of 6 key ingredients. The perfect combination of chromium, vitamin D3, and vitamin K2, which it's important to take those 2 together, selenium, vanadium, and our 10-to-1 cinnamon bark extract. Now, if you're not already using Sinachroma, I highly recommend that you give it a try and see how it helps your energy, your weight, and your blood sugar numbers. You can get Sinachroma at bartonnutrition.com or on Amazon. If you get it at bartonnutrition.com, you can enter the coupon code webinar25 and you'll save 25% off at bartonnutrition.com. But I realize some people like to go to Amazon as well. So Anyways, Cinechroma, highly recommend. Now let's get you back to the Fixed Blood Sugar webinar.
Okay, probably one more question. Kenneth says, I've been on your program for the past 4 weeks on phase 1, and my A1C is 104 in the morning, but during the day it's 90. I don't take any medicine other than Cinechroma twice a day. Can I move to phase 2 or do I stay in phase 1?
Wow, 90 is really good. I mean, you're right on that borderline on the getting into phase 2. I would even lower the carbs more until you get into the 70 to 90 range instead of the 90 to 100 range, and then when you're in the 70 to 90 range, and then start phase 2.
Okay.
My blood sugar does the same thing. It's higher in the morning and it drops down into the 80s during the day. Yeah, I don't know. So it's, yeah, but listen to the doc. He knows more than I do.
Yeah.
Numerous comments about it being high at night. Someone even asked, is there something I can take at night to make it lower in the morning when I check?
No, don't do that. Just be on the program, because there are a lot of factors that enter into what your blood sugar is, and your blood sugar is going up and down for other reasons besides what you ate. So at night, for example, we gave the example of the blood sugar dropping low, the insulin drops low, the glucagon goes up, and the glucagon tells the liver, make more sugar. So then you start making a bunch of sugar, and then your blood sugar goes up at night. You go, wait a minute, I didn't eat anything. This can't be right. But it is, it's okay. That's the system is set to keep that blood sugar high enough that the brain can function, the heart can function, the kidneys can function, and the nerves can function. So that's needed.
Okay, Dr. Saunders, you're awesome. You know
Yes.
you need to go be with your patients.
All right.
So thank you.
See you
You.
next week.
All right.
See you next week.
We'll hang on here for a minute. We can probably answer a couple more questions, and I wanted to do a little shameless plug of Fiber Greens as well. So we've been sending emails out to you guys. Our new product, Fiber Greens, green apple flavor, super low carb, 1 net gram carbs, 5 grams of fiber in each scoop. It tastes great. Lots of good feedback. So look at your emails, or I also posted a link, I believe. But if you go to our Barton Nutrition store, or it's on bartonwebinar.com too. Eric, our web developer, put it up there for us during the webinar today. So that's fantastic. So check that out. Get your bottles. Use that coupon code webinar25 and you'll save 25% off. That is a special coupon for you for watching the webinar here with us. So we like to give you guys a little the lowest prices possible. We appreciate your hopping on, joining us today, participating. A lot of great questions. We've had a record number of people here. Leslie, your dog only needed you to go let her out once. You know, your husband stayed in his room.
She was right here for most of the time, which was funny.
Your husband stayed in the back.
Yeah,
no, he
he's
wasn't
on his own
making
calls.
much noise.
We used to share an office, but we no longer do. So we're both busy. We can't all be on calls. So my husband actually works for Joe as well.
He is a rock star. He's business development, affiliate management. Love both of you guys. So
we love you too. Thank
you. A lot
you.
of good stuff going on. There's just a lot of questions that we probably won't get to, but you can bring them next week. But
yeah, and I just want to say this too, because there are so many questions, probably record questions today as well, and comments, which is amazing. If you're like, I need this answered right away, go to, first of all, bartonwebinar.com, BARTON, because there's a list of top 10 questions. Many of these questions are answered on that page. Okay. Yeah, and Joe just posted that there in the chat, bartonwebinar.com. Plus you'll find anything you could possibly need to know about us or how to get stuff, etc. You'll find it there. Lots of questions about the diabetes solution kit, which if you just hopped on at the end, you might be like, what? That sounds weird. Okay, it is amazing. Go to bartonwebinar.com. It's what most people here are using to reverse their type 2. It is very inexpensive. It's the same program that Dr. Saunders uses with his patients in his office. So you'll find out more information there for at bartonwebinar.com. The other thing that I was going to mention is, again, the link to our YouTube channel. Over 134 webinars, testimonials, questions, etc. You can search the channel for different topics. Again, there's a link there to that channel at bartonwebinar.com. So make sure you subscribe to that, guys, so you get notified when we upload a new webinar, because these are gold. This is like meeting with your doctor for free and asking him questions, which is, where else can you do that? I don't know. And he is amazing. So what else? If you want to chat with me about your success, Leslie at bartonpublishing.com. I love that. And I think that basically generally covers most things.
I think so. Kenneth Cole, is that a brand of shoes?
It is a brand.
That's one of our, I gotta say, that's a great name, Kenneth. I like your shoes.
I like your stuff.
Yeah, good stuff. Love to have people on here. We're getting to know people too. We have a lot of people that come like every week. So it feels like we need to have like a party sometime, like a reunion. So maybe we can do that in Arizona at the Oasis Healing House, I'm calling it. So
yes, that'd be great. We have a list of people who are interested in that also. So if that's something of interest to you, you can email that as well.
Email Leslie about that, because so I don't know if you saw. Do you know what episode that was? It was like a month ago. I did a little sneak peek, so that's another reason to go to our YouTube channel. Around 127 or 128. No, what are we at now? It's probably like a 130. It's 130. I think it's 130. Episode 130. I gave a sneak peek of the Arizona Oasis Healing House, where we are going to do health retreats with Dr. Saunders. We're going to try to get 8 to 12 people in there together at the same time, have 3 days of community, eating together, not eating together, fasting together, exercising, going on hikes, getting some sunshine, going in the hot tub. We might have a sauna. We've got a massage chair, a Sarah massage roller bed. We've got essential oil diffusers, all sorts of good stuff. And so if that's something that would be interesting to you, to actually fly into Phoenix and go up a little bit north of there, shoot Leslie an email. Don't shoot Leslie. We need Leslie around. Send Leslie an email. Man, I'm getting to be like my grandpa jokes, like my wife's grandpa. Anyways, send her an email just so you can get on the list of having interest in that. It's not going to be cheap. It's for people that want to kind of go on vacation and also greatly improve their health and have a great time. So, but we want to put you on that list. Anyways, that's it. This was great. Thanks for joining us. Leslie, you rocked it again. Star of the show, Leslie at bartonpublishing.com. And we'll see you next time. Same time, same place. Wednesdays, 1 o'clock Central. God bless. See you later.
Bye.